You know, the Last of Us series is one of the most popular things right now. I mean, pretty much anyone with good taste is eating it up, deservedly so. It's one of the best adaptations that I've seen for pretty much anything, and the story is rock solid. This gritty survival story just keeps you immersed at all times. And while watching the series, I was reminded that there's another story out there, another survival story that completely puts Last of Us to shame. It makes it look like complete child's play. It's a series called The Horizon by ji-hoon. And god damn, is this one of the darkest pieces of fiction I have ever read. Hi all, I'm Bayfund, and today I wanted to talk to you guys about this series because I think it's a pleasant trip down misery lane. Last of Us only has like 2 episodes left. The Walking Dead is over. There's something that's gotta fill in that hole in the hearts of anyone that likes survival horror or just survival in general, and that's where The Horizon fits in. I hope I pronounced the name of the author correctly, ji-hoon, because that's Korean, which means that this time I'm not talking about a manga or an anime, I'm talking about a manhwa. You could say that I'm breaking out of my comfort zone for a little bit, but don't give me too much credit because this is pretty much the exact same thing as a manga, just written in Korean. And there's also the fact that this was placed on a website called Web-toon as well. But a comic, manga, manhwa, pretty much it's all the same. And this series is essentially the sensation of drowning and hopelessness. And I'm saying that with the biggest smile on my face. I've in the past talked about Oyasumi Punpun and how I thought that series wasn't as dark as how most people describe it. But this one is. The characters in the series don't really have names. I mean, our main 2 protagonists are the boy and the girl. And this is definitely like a stylistic choice. Like the characters aren't just representing themselves. They are an idea or a reflection of the world that they're living in. It feels like the characters don't have names because they don't really need to. The situations are so dire and so fucked up at times that that's more important than what their names could be. And there are a lot of dark, messed up situations that these 2 kids encounter. This is a post-apocalyptic story after a war and a virus has just completely decimated humanity. And there are a shit ton of complex themes just thrown at you that would take pretty much a whole college course worth of analysis to just unravel. Which is surprising because you can see that there's only around like 21 chapters, and in any other series I would say that this is an easy read. But no, it very much isn't. War, love, the meaning of life itself. Every character that you're gonna be introduced to has a twist or a certain perspective on any one of these ideas that's here. There's some characters that you're definitely gonna like more than others, and some decisions that people make that you're just not gonna be completely fond of. But the central question that I feel keeps being asked more and more is why keep moving forward? Why persevere in a world that becomes so horrible? And it really pushes why the most faint inklings of hope are some of the biggest things you should latch onto and never let go. It's wonderful in how it tells its story. If you're not really in the right headspace or you're a little bit squeamish, you might not want to dive into this one just yet, because it really doesn't let up on the situations that it puts its characters through. You might be inclined to cry at this story, but for someone like me, I just felt more despair. And not a lot of dark series really keep you in that headspace as much as this one does. I don't really want to spoil anything that goes on in the story because I want you to experience this firsthand. But I can tell you that the story is pretty much centered on these 2 kids going on their journey, just trying to survive and meeting people throughout that change them completely. Something I can say for people that love the survival genre is don't get attached to any of these characters, because shit gets bleak and you don't want more heartache than this is gonna give you. Essentially being Last of Us if it had even more depression. And this hopeless feeling is really driven home with that gorgeous art style. The art style is beautifully haunting. When a character is on their last legs, devoid of any hope or emotion, you can really see that in their eyes. And there is blood and gore in this story as well. But it's never in the perverse form that's trying to pretty much just showcase violence for the sake of violence. It does it as a necessity to the story. The expressions that these characters can make just get ingrained in your mind because they're just so vivid. The boy and the girl traverse these wide, open, empty landscapes that just make the story seem so much more solitary and isolated. Anytime that there's a big set piece going on in the background, you feel as though you need these characters to get out of there as fast as possible. These moments of quiet are sometimes gonna be the most serene the story's gonna be, and you'll wish for them to come back sometimes. There are scenes scenes in this that feel like you're just developing a pit in your stomach. And in the very few moments that hope is realized, it feels as though you've ascended. The story is usually told in black and white, like how most things in its medium are. So when it tries to do something different, like adding in a splash of color here and there, it really stays with you. And it's really fitting for this story that is essentially a non-stop tragedy. When I started reading this story, I got fully invested immediately, and I read through the entire 21 chapters in pretty much a few hours. And it carried some of the weirdest sensations I felt while reading a piece of media. Because the further that you go into it, the more hopeless the entire situation seems. So when you get completely attached to the characters and the way the world is, you're gonna get pretty much blindsided by what happens. It keeps you on your toes. You're always gonna be on the lookout for what's gonna happen next and what's gonna happen that's gonna let our characters survive. And all in all, I would say that I only really had one grievance with the story, and it's one that I don't really carry now. It was based on what was pretty much the last chapter of the story, and how, controversially, I really didn't care for the integration of the whole Christianity aspect at the very, very end. It seemed a little ham-fisted when I read it for the first time. But when looking at the author's other works, like The Boxer, which is another hugely popular series that you may or may not know, the author really likes to throw some religious allusions every now and again. It's kind of a little bit like their trademark. And on my second rereading of this, I could definitely understand it more and feel that it was more powerful than what it was my first time reading it. So if you're looking for a series right now that's gonna make you feel like complete and utter trash by the end of it, I definitely recommend reading The Horizon. It's pretty much got every single type of trauma that you need. And if you're looking for more, then well, you're probably a fucked up kind of person. And with that, I think that I can't recommend it more than this. As always, I was Bayfun, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.